This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Pro Wrestling Show. I'm Scott McPike. It is an absolute pleasure to be your host as always, and I'm delighted to welcome this week's special guest. It is a pleasure to welcome onto the show Theo Doros. Theo, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure.
Hey Scott, thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
It's
Happy
a
to be
pleasure.
here.
It's a pleasure. Obviously, a busy weekend lined up before get the F out. We'll touch on that in a wee second. But how's kind of things been the past few months?
All right, yeah, not too bad. Just obviously with the big match at Get the F Out, I've had a few big matches as well at Discovery and stuff recently. So it's just been focused on that, training and try to get in as good shape and as ready for these big matches as possible. They just keep coming.
Absolutely, yeah. Get the F Out, obviously, King of Insanity, yourself against Jack Jester. The thing I really have enjoyed the build up to this, and it's obviously like you've obviously put a lot of work into it. Are you pleased with how it's been going? And at King of Insanity, it's kind of not something I would associate with you. It's certainly fair to say, but that's kind of why I'm enjoying this so much, because we know this is the kind of payoff. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's not obviously King of Insanity. I'm not a King of Insanity wrestler. But it's something that obviously I'm having to do. And hopefully the match goes well. The build up's been good, I guess you could say, as long as you guys have enjoyed it. We've taken you on a ride, taking myself on a ride as well at some points. But this will be the payoff will be me versus Jester, where I will obviously keep the rules in place at ICW. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously you've got that kind of you had the wee kind of promos with Mark and things like that. Like it's been really enjoyable. Do you enjoy kind of working with him like, from a character aspect?
Working with Mark,
Yeah,
it's yeah. Obviously, it's always good to be in there with the owner. Even though every time I'm in the ring with the owner, I end up being put in King of Insanity matches or Glasgow Street fights. So he must have it out for me. He must have it out for me. But I mean, being in there with Dallas, obviously, how far he's taken ICW,
yeah.
it's mad. So yeah, and if he always keeps bringing me back despite putting me in King of Insanity matches. So yeah, I can't complain. I can't
Yeah.
complain.
Absolutely. Well, can I chat a bit more about your career kind of later on, and obviously starting the business and kind of how you got to end up in ICW. But with one wee bit of news, not a lot's overly happened this week, but we're going to change things up. We're going to have a wee fantasy draft, so I'm going to give you a chance to be a Mark Dallas figure and kind of run your own show. But we'll do that kind of shortly. I want to talk about something that's kind of caught my eye the past couple of days, and that is Goldberg wanting a retirement match. Now, it's not to say that won't be in WWE, because I think AEW has been mentioned. Goldberg coming back, like when he came back, it made sense. Obviously, coming back for the Brock match, I thought that program was really well. Did he stay on too long? That's again something we can discuss. But he deserves a retirement match, doesn't he? It doesn't matter where it is, but he does deserve a big chance to kind of go out on his own terms.
Oh, 100%. When you look at all he did in WCW, one of the biggest draws in wrestling. And again, he's just such an impact on the business. Someone of that stature, 100% deserves a chance to go out on his own terms and stuff. The impact he's had, um, he definitely deserves it. One of the biggest draws in modern wrestling, anyway.
See, like there's two kind of angles of this. Obviously, if you do it, does he stay on in WWE? If so, who would it be against? Who do you think? Who kind of makes sense? Like, because it's not going to be a long match, but I think he deserves a kind of opportunity to get out in his own kind of height. Who kind of makes sense for him as a final opponent?
I don't really know. Again, maybe somebody like a Finn Balor, I guess, somebody who can bump about and make him look like the beast he is. But again, with Goldberg, it should just be a Goldberg match. If you give the fans a Goldberg match, it's going to be good.
How about Goldberg and John Cena?
See, I don't know. I don't think. I think the John Cena, with the few matches he has left, you want to see him have a John Cena match.
Yeah.
The same with Goldberg. You want to see Goldberg have a Goldberg match. So I'd say give Goldberg up against someone young, up and coming, who can bump about, make him look like a beast, and just give him that Goldberg match.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, AEW has been mentioned. I'd be very surprised if he went there.
I mean, if they pay him enough, I imagine he would go, because it's not as if he's a WWE guy. He was a WCW guy. I just imagine he'll go where he feels he can give the best to the fans that he can.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're gonna now move on to the fantasy draft. The WWE draft's coming up. We're going to have 10 picks each. We're going to pick our own rosters. I'm going to let you decide. Do you want to be Raw or SmackDown?
I'll go SmackDown.
SmackDown. So you're giving me the responsibility of carrying a 3-hour show. Thanks for that.
No worries.
Right. So 10 picks each. A couple of rules that we'll go with. You can draft factions together. You can split tag teams. We need to pick one person from NXT minimum.
Okay.
Okay. All good with that?
Yep.
Right, I'm going to write them down just so I can keep on top of them. Right, you go first. Who's your first pick and why?
So I can go for a faction here.
You can go for a faction, yeah.
Go the Bloodline.
Bloodline.
Biggest draw in wrestling. Biggest thing in wrestling today. The Bloodline.
Do you think, like, where the Bloodline, are you drafting? You're drafting the championships, but are you drafting the story as well? Like, there's a lot you can do with the Bloodline still, even though they've lost the tag titles, and there's so much there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's endless. I'll just take the faction. I mean, I think those guys are that good. They could work with anyone and have a great story with anyone.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with you in the faction. Same reason. I'm going to go the Judgment Day.
Okay.
There's a lot you can do there. Obviously, you get Rhea's SmackDown Women's Championship, and everybody knows how big a fan I am of Rhea Ripley. Dominic, he's a heel magnet. Finn, when the Judgment Day eventually split up, I think you've got Finn and Damien have got a chance to obviously go out themselves. Dominic's going to have a bright future. Rhea kind of takes care of herself. There's a lot you can do with that because it is a faction, but it is 4 separate entities who can be really big stars going forward.
So, yeah, the Judgment Day, they're class, and Dominic's got some future ahead of him as a heel. Really does.
Absolutely right. Second pick, who you got?
Cody. I think he's lined up to be the biggest thing in wrestling. Especially with Roman going more part-time. He's just so good. His promos, phenomenal. How he's gone away. He went away from WWE, reinvented himself in AEW and came back. And he's legitimately the biggest face in the business. Cody has to be.
Big call. So I'm down Roman and Cody. I need to build my own division up. I think I'm going to go second pick, Seth Rollins. I think, again, just so much you can do with him. He'll have a good match with anybody. Perfect guy. Like, I associate Seth Rollins with Raw. Like, I do think when the draft comes up, I think Roman will stay in SmackDown. I think Fox really like having Roman there. Seth would be my guy to kind of lead Raw.
Yeah, Seth, great in-ring worker. Probably one of the best in ring just now, if not the best.
Third pick, who you got?
I'm gonna keep the star power. I'm gonna go Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Brock. Again, he's a star. He's an absolute star.
And Brock and Cody, obviously, together, you've got a lot of star power there, so I think that could be pretty good. Third pick, I need a title, so I'm going to take as a faction, just obviously so I can get the Intercontinental title as well, and I think they're 3 really good guys. Imperium, I think Gunther's box office. I think keep building him the way they're building him. I think he's going to be a massive player going forward.
Oh yeah, he'll be one of the top heels, one of the WrestleMania main event in the future for sure.
And you can get it. There's a tag team there as well, obviously with Kaiser and Vinci. I think there's a tag team opportunity there. Fourth pick.
I'm gonna go Street Profits.
Okay.
Again, a tag team to work with the Usos. And you've got that story eventually. I think when they do split up, there's a natural story there. So I'll go Street Profits there.
My fourth pick, I am going to go for Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
And there again, you've got the programme with Gunter. If he resigns, we emphasise if, again, you've still got the story you can tell of him being champion. If in this situation, though, I think that's a perfect opportunity to split the two belts up. Would you agree with that?
Split the two belts up.
Split the two world titles up. Just
Oh, yeah.
so whether you get rid of the Universal and just have like an undisputed WWE champion and bring a new one in, or bring back the big gold belt, I'm sure we wouldn't mind that. I think that represents a perfect chance to do that, because you can still, with the Roman story, they're obviously keeping it at like 1,000 days. I don't think there's many, like Cody's obviously, I still think he's the right guy to end Roman. But I would still say that in the other show, you do need a world title. You do need something for that to go. I think it kind of devalues the brand split just to be one title.
I don't know. I think it elevates the title if you just have the one.
Yeah.
I think when it comes off a Roman, eventually, and you can have one champion appearing on both shows, I think what you then have is if the world champion is in a feud on Raw, then whatever the mid card title on SmackDown then has the chance to get elevated, and then when the world title feud on Raw is finished, it moves over to SmackDown. You then have the mid card title on Raw with a chance to get elevated. So I think that's how I would do it. But again, for that, I think you almost do need a full-time champion, which obviously Roman isn't. But yeah, I think they know what they're doing better than we do.
Yeah, definitely. Who you got fifth?
I'm gonna go Austin Theory.
Okay.
He's phenomenal. Again, promo, he's got the looks, he's got the in-ring ability. I think he's just phenomenal, and he's been given the rub by Cena. I don't think. I think obviously Cena sees something in him, otherwise he wouldn't have done that. So I think he's a future star. Again, I just think he's in 5-6 years we're going to be looking at again someone who can headline Mania.
My fifth pick, I'm going to go for Becky Lynch.
Okay.
Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, I think, could be a headline. Becky and Trish, obviously, I really enjoyed that Trish Stratus promo the other night. I don't know if you've seen it. It just reminded me of 2005 when she was an amazing heel. She was the best heel in the business then. It just took me back to then. So, again, I think Becky Lynch, obviously, you're going to have her back in the title picture at some point. I think she'll beat Trish Stratus. I think she'll win that. But yeah, kind of weird situation, obviously, with our social media. I don't know if she's leaning towards a kind of storyline, but again, I would have Becky Lynch there. It keeps her and Seth together. You've got Becky and Rhea. Yeah, I would have Becky Lynch fifth for me. Who you got sixth?
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
I think she's the biggest female star they've got. I would have her in the top three full-time stars, and if you're not including Brock, I would have her up there with Cody and Roman. They're the top 3 stars. Her performance against Rhea Ripley at Mania was just insane. So yeah, I'm going Charlotte.
Charlotte. My sixth pick, Brawling Brutes. So you get, again, you've got a tag team there, and you keep Sheamus, because I think Sheamus is the right guy to take the title for Gunther at some point. I think you've got that Intercontinental title story. I think there's a lot you can do with Sheamus. And obviously you've got Butch, change his name to Pete Dunne. That would be the first thing I would do in the draft as well. And just have him what he was. Because, yeah, the Brawler Brutes, I like them, but I would just have Pete Dunne what he was, because it worked. And I think as well, I think you're building something really good here. You've got obviously a good kind of difference of heels and faces, so it's kind of working out. Who you got seventh?
I'm gonna go Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler as the tag team, because then they can work with Charlotte, they can work with themselves. Again, just Ronda and Charlotte have cracking matches. I think you've got 2 women there who add massive value to any roster.
And like obviously with Ronda, like a star power as well. I think we're clearly seeing here that you're going towards the box office draw. You want the ratings.
Pretty much. That's obviously probably talk about it later, but that's what got me interested was the big
Yeah.
stars. So
Yeah, absolutely. Seventh, I'm going to use my NXT pick here. I really like Grayson Waller. I think he's a future star. I'll maybe use another NXT pick later, but I think Grayson Waller. I don't know if do you follow NXT?
yeah, I do follow NXT. Yeah,
I think he's probably the one I would say from NXT that I would build a business around. Like I think he's a really good heel. Like I think he's very unlikely to kind of work as a babyface because I think he just generates like Dominic. It's very difficult to see how he gets the fans on his side, kind of thing. But he's so athletic. He worked a really good match with Johnny Gargano. There's a lot of guys you can pick out NXT, but I just think overall kind of package like promos, athleticism. I think he's a good worker as well. I just think that he's kind of the one I would say all round. He would be the guy I would bring up from NXT.
yeah, he's definitely as a heel, he's phenomenal. One of probably the best heel they've got down in NXT, especially, and one of the best in the WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 8.
Again, I have to go for it if I totally forgot about having to pick NXT. So I'm going to go again, biggest name in NXT, a guy who's destined to be a star, Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker.
Guy just looks the part, and he just carries himself like a wrestler.
What do you think of him potentially being the kind of next big star? Like there's been a lot of kind of he get pushed to the moon in NXT. When he lost the title to Carmelo Hayes, everybody thought that would be he would be going up to the main roster. He turned heel. Do you think he's potentially kind of going to come up in the draft? And if so, how do you see him going? Do you see him staying as a heel, or do you see him being a potentially because he's a potential opportunity like to build as the kind of next big babyface?
I think so. I'd be surprised if he doesn't come up in the draft. But again, I think he's somebody who you could bring up as either. I think again, depending on where he is in the draft, what that brand is lacking, you could bring him up as either. And I just think you strap the rocket to his back. I mean, the way he works in the ring, the way he looks, the way he carries himself, he just looks like somebody who you could stick on a poster of WrestleMania, and he looks like he belongs.
Yeah.
So I would just strap the rocket to him.
I would agree. Number 8, I'm kind of RK Bro. Because I think obviously Riddle's coming back. I think the story writes itself with him and Randy when Randy gets back from his injury. And again, you've just got two really good, really dependable guys. Randy obviously coming back from injury. I love Randy Orton now. Like I used to think was a like brilliant heel, but now you look at he's just so good. He could have a good match with anybody. And I wouldn't mind seeing Randy Orton against the likes of Gunther, even like another match with Finn, Seth. I think there's a lot you can do with that roster. So I would have Randy and Riddle.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I love Randy. I think he's phenomenal.
I think I've appreciated him more as I've got older. Like just like when I was I used to detest him when I was young. Like I used to think like he's overrated, and now like I look back and think he's been so gifted from the moment he got in. It's 20 years as well. Like and I do think obviously I wish I had Cody because I would love to see potentially down the line Randy and Cody because I think that's a story that could write itself as well. So Randy and Riddle for me, two really good guys. I think both rosters are pretty stacked. Like who you got number 9?
Probably going to go to tag team champions because neither of us have picked them yet. And
Yeah.
Sam and Kevin Owens again, very over baby faces, and then there's inevitably a story to tell where they wrestle each other again. Another split, another story to tell.
Brilliant. Number 9. I know I'm going to have both the championships, so we'll probably merge these at some point. I think Bianca Belair. I'm surprised none of us have taken her this late. I think she's another big star. I think again just going right under the radar recently. Like number 9, I'm surprised it took me that long to take her because I think she's a brilliant athlete.
Yeah, she is, and I think she's incredible for what she can do. She's so talented. She looks the part, and she's just phenomenal in the ring.
Your final pick.
I'm gonna go with the women's tag team champions, Liv Morgan and and what's her name?
Raquel.
Raquel, yeah, her. Um, has to be them. I think again that way you've got a tag team that can work against Ronda and Shayna.
Mm-hmm.
And then again with all tag teams, there's a story to tell when they split.
Kind of wish we'd get. Do you want to go? Do you want to go maybe 12? Like maybe go to 15 out of it. Want to go to 15? Because I could do this all day. Let's go. Let's go 15. You good with that?
Yeah, we'll go 15.
Brilliant. Right, number 10. I really want AJ Styles. Again, coming back from injury, another guy. I'm kind of leaning towards this being the kind of the workers place. You've got the stars, so I'm gonna have the SmackDown 6 kind of vibe. I'm gonna have that kind of idea. AJ Styles for me would be number 10. I think when he comes back, again, you've got the story you can still tell the Judgment Day. A lot of guys, AJ Styles, Grayson Waller, they've done it already. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. Gunter, AJ for me.
Yeah, AJ's one of the best one of the best in ring there is. Yeah, that was actually going to be my next pick, so thanks for that. My next one, controversial. I think he gets a lot of unfair stick, but I'm going to go Dolph Ziggler. I love him. I think he's class.
He was on my radar as well. Yeah,
I think he's really good. I think he's really. He was a bit underutilized and stuff, but again, if you want someone to make, for example, Braun Breaker look like a star, like he did when they worked together in NXT, you've got Dolph Ziggler there, who's just phenomenal.
Yep, I can't disagree with that pick. I'm going to go for an NXT now. I need a new woman. I need a new kind of women's. Cora Jade. I was between Cora Jade and Tiffany Stratton. I might still pick Tiffany Stratton. I love Cora Jade. I think she's potentially the next AJ Lee. I think she's someone, a future, turn Rhea babyface, and you could potentially, that could be your story down the line. Rhea, I really like Cora Jade, so I would have Cora Jade number 11.
Yeah, she is good and probably the standout woman in NXT just now. So yeah. So my 12, I'm gonna go NXT and I'm gonna go Gallus. Gonna bring Gallus up again. Tag team, a faction. I think solid workers, again, look the part, just everything about them screams wrestler. Phenomenal in the ring. So yeah, it has to be Gallus.
They fitted into that scene so well, haven't they? Like, I knew we all thought they would. To be fair, like they've always screamed, like particularly the kind of Coffees as a tag team, like Wolfgang as well. All three guys are really, really good, but they've fitted in so well.
Yeah, they've slotted in there, and they belong there. If not, they belong on the main roster.
Yeah, 100%. Number 12. I'm on a bit of a rebuild here. I really wish they could do more with Karrion Kross, because I think he's really dependable. I think he's been poorly booked. I don't know whose fault that is. I think he's definitely him and Scarlett. Really think Scarlett's ideal for him. I think Karrion Kross, I think if you do it right, I think there's a potential rebuild there. So I would probably say Karrion Kross.
Yeah, again, someone who they could do, has got the tools to be a star. And speaking of, that's who I'm going to go for next is LA Knight. I think again a solid guy over with the crowd. Again, he was brought in. He was in the feud with Bray Wyatt to get Bray over, and he ended up getting himself over. He's just again someone who's underutilized, and hopefully he's someone who hopefully they use more of.
Number 13, I still think there's more you can do with the Mysterio storyline. So I'm going to take as a package, because I think I'll be allowed this. I'm sure you'll give me this. LWO.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Because Ray's going to get to the end, and there's still more you can do with this. But you've got guys like Santos Escobar, who I still think is a really good guy. You've got a tag team as well, Wild and Mendoza, two really good guys for the future. And I think you've got, I really think that is a decent faction you can build around. Selena's there as well, obviously, so that's another women's wrestler. Yeah, really good. Really good. I really like that pick, actually, from me.
I'm going to go my next pick, Bobby Lashley with MVP.
Okay. With MVP, interesting.
Oh, no, sorry. MVPs with almost just now. So I'm just going to go. If I could
It's your
pick,
brand. It's your brand. You can have him there if you want.
oh, then I'll take MVP because I thought that incarnation of when it was a Hurt Business and then Bobby with MVP as the mouthpiece, I just thought was phenomenal. Obviously, WWE champion at the time. So yeah, I'm going to go Bobby Lashley with MVP.
Are you giving me the chance to take Gargano and Ciampa together?
Yeah, yeah.
DIY. DIY. Again, two guys. Ciampa obviously has been injured, but again, just so reliable. Gargano needs to be booked better. I'm sure Triple H will probably admit that himself, that he hasn't used Gargano right. It's been too comedy. I think you saw a perfect example against Grayson Waller at NXT. He's still a guy who can put a really good match on with somebody. So DIY, you've got two guys. I'm taking a lot of tag teams. I think I'm trying to build a wee tag team division, but you've got the championships.
Yeah, I've got the NXT championships as well with Gallus.
Yeah, you do indeed. Final pick, who we got?
I'm gonna go Logan Paul.
Interesting.
Great heel for having had as many matches as he's had, as few matches as he's had. Phenomenal. I just think he's money. He's absolute money.
He signed a new contract. Obviously, like there's obviously serious plans for him. How would you think the internet wrestling community would react if they said, right, we're going to give Logan Paul the title?
Oh, I think they'd be up in arms, which would make it great because he's a heel.
Yes,
And he
that's
would
what I
have
was.
legitimate heat.
Yeah, I can see him being a serious contender to win Money in the Bank.
I wouldn't say no. I think again, having him do that, having him in a position where he could just get real heat by genuinely pissing everyone off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give him it.
Yep, absolutely. Really good final pick. I really like your roster. I think it's star-studded. My final pick, I'm surprised we've left them too long. Again, with the idea of kind of building the women's division, you've got three women. I'm taking a lot of factions. Damage control, because Bailey can have a good match with anybody. I still think there's Io Sky, Dakota Kai. There's three really good. You can split them up as well, potentially down the line. Damage control round off the draft for me.
Yeah, no, I think that you've got a very faction based roster, and I suppose you need to get more bodies in if you're filling 3 hours of Raw.
Absolutely, I really enjoyed that. That was good.
Yeah, that was good fun.
That was good. That was good. I wish it. I would. I wish it. Hopefully, it goes like that in the real one again. You can send us your selections as well on the comments if you want a wee shot of that. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, just speaking there, we'll speak about your career. Like growing up a fan, who were your kind of heroes growing up? Like you said there before we'll talk about the kind of stars. Like who were kind of some of the stars that you kind of liked when you were watching?
So the guy that got me hooked on wrestling was The Rock. He got me
Right.
hooked on it back late 90s, early 2000s, and then it was him that actually got me hooked back into wrestling. Because I stopped watching for a wee while, and I got hooked back in 2011.
Yeah.
2011. So yeah, Rock. Again, it's just the guys who are larger than life. The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Triple H. The guys who obviously you wouldn't necessarily always associate with 5-star matches, but the guys who are larger than life, who were big characters. That's always something that's what hooked me on wrestling. It wasn't the actual in-ring action, so to say. It was always just the storytelling, the promos, the character side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned there, obviously about becoming a fan again, after between the Kin Attitude Era and The Rock coming back. When did you first get the ideas? Like I could do this.
See, to be honest, I didn't for a while. I wasn't actually aware of wrestling in Scotland outside of ICW.
Right.
So I'd obviously seen the BBC series, and that was my first exposure to wrestling in the UK. And then it was just I was in a chip shop, and I saw a flyer for a local wrestling company, Reckless Intent, and then that it was only then when I actually became aware that there's actually more wrestling in Scotland than just ICW.
Mm-hmm.
So
when do you first get the idea like training and things like that, and who were kind of some of your good mentors? Because like you said, they're kind of local promotion. Like it's good to have that obviously kind of close by, and you must have kind of built a good rapport with the guys in there.
Yeah, so it was literally just I was meant to be doing my dissertation at uni at the time. And so naturally I wanted something to distract me from that, something to help me procrastinate. Um so I went along to training one night and my training session was taken by a guy called Scott Rennick,
Right. Okay.
former SWA champion and stuff. And it was one where I mean I still play now, but at the time I was falling out of love with football.
Right.
And I was looking for something to fill that void of something, to keep me busy at weekends and stuff like that. So I thought I'll give this a try, and I went and I absolutely loved the first session. Getting trained by Scott, he made the session fun. Turned out I was all right at it from the start, and then Scott Rennick helped mentor me. And then that's when I met Michael Chase, the guy who owned Reckless Intent, was the head trainer. I think when I'd started, he was just going through a bit of recovery for a knee injury, so he wasn't actually taking training then. But he eventually became on to be probably my biggest mentor in wrestling, and one of my closest friends. So I would say start off with at the beginning, it was Scott Rennick and Michael Chase who really guided me through the early stages of my career, and then maybe 3-4 years into the business, I became really close with somebody who doesn't get as much credit as he deserves, and for the work he's helped do at Discovery, is Darren Goss. He's helped me massively, commentator at Discovery, so he's helped me massively in terms of character work, promo work, the psychology of things, and again, guys like Alan Smith as well in my early days at Discovery gave me so many opportunities to step in the ring with, for example, Victoria, and just perform on a bigger stage. Again, Randy Valentine helped me with promo work and character work and stuff. So I've had a lot of people. I've been very fortunate in right throughout my career who have helped guide me with in-ring work, the character side of things, the promo things, and help me become as complete a package as I possibly can.
And like first matches as well, like how weird is it like when you're getting into that stage of like training and then like in front of a crowd as well? How big's the impact the crowd have on you?
Oh, it's weird. It's not something that I necessarily notice.
Right.
Um, I always try and feed off the crowd. I always try and feed off them, and try and see what sort of energy, what sort of vibe they're giving off, and then try and respond accordingly. But I much prefer wrestling in front of a crowd. Like training matches, I don't enjoy it because it's just it seems very artificial. But I'm not one who pays too much attention to, for example, the size of the crowd or anything. It's more about what sort of energy are they giving off? How can I
Yeah.
get the best reaction? Do they prefer big moves? Do they prefer character work? Do they prefer if I'm sort of, responding to them and interacting with them or what? So that's sort of more my take on the crowd is how are they reacting? What are they reacting to? What are they enjoying that night and stuff, as opposed to anything else really.
And like we mentioned, you obviously mentioned there about Reckless Intent being a really good promotion. Like there's a couple of matches kind of stand out from kind of like the one against Doug Williams as well. Like obviously a really experienced guy in the business. How did that kind of feel like working with a guy like that? You mentioned Victoria as well. How good is it to kind of learn off the guys?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's just learning from people who've been at the top of the business and just picking their brains, seeing how they do things, why they do things and stuff. The one thing with Doug is obviously it was in the behind closed door tapings.
Yeah.
So that's a match I would have loved to have done in front of a crowd, and just to see how he interacts with the crowd and things like that. Obviously, I can see that. I've wrestled him in a tag match in front of a crowd, in front of a crowd, which was slightly different. But to have that one-on-one match with him was phenomenal. Just the psychology and why we were doing all the different things and stuff was great. So yeah, but again, it's one that would have been good to have been able to do with people there.
How did ICW come about? Like when did you first kind of speak to Mark Dallas? Like a lot of the guys there, obviously, like it's well known just how good they are with kind of young talent. Like when did that first come about, and how beneficial has it been?
So I don't know how many people actually remember this, but I've wrestled a couple times for ICW a few years ago, well before the pandemic and stuff. As in a tag team, me and Michael Chase, we were the Age of Orion. We wrestled Polar Promotions, and then we wrestled Rampage and Ashton. So we had those two matches with them, and then for one reason or another, which I don't know, we only had those two matches. We didn't get much of a run. I think obviously Mikey's injury played a part in it, and then obviously the pandemic, and then it was just when ICW were doing the behind closed door tapings, they were given a lot of opportunities to younger guys, to new talent. So they just reached out and offered me the chance, and it was one that I was grateful for. I wasn't sure if it was ever going to come, and it's one where every time I go out and wrestle for ICW, every time I go out and perform, I try and make sure I'm taking the opportunity with both hands and just showing that they were right to give me the chance.
And like character work as well and promos, like obviously that's something you kind of develop over time, like, and just get better at. But one thing I always like look at when I watch is like you have a natural way of like generating heat. Does that make sense? Like, do you find it difficult to do that, or is it just like what kind of goes into that, like kind of building kind of characters and things like that? Because you obviously have the kind of plan of what you want to do, but implementing that, is that a different thing to what you do, what you plan?
I don't really know, to be honest. At the end of the day, it's hard to answer that. I just, like you said, I just naturally seem to get heat. There's no, I don't try and plan what for example, I'm gonna say. Like, yeah. I'm somebody who, if you handed me a script and were saying say this, my memory's horrendous, so I'd forget it. And again, it does just come off of what are the crowd, how are they acting, how are they reacting, what are they reacting to, and it's just, again, just going out there and being myself, doing what I think is right, and just having that connection with the audience to try and get them to respond the way I want them to.
Yeah.
And apparently I'm just easy to dislike, apparently.
And like a place like Fear and Loathing as well, obviously winning the Zero G title, beating Daz Black. Obviously, Daz is at a bad injury, so wishing him all the best. Yeah. That opportunity, obviously, coming up to win that title, it was kind of like an anti-Zero G crusade you were on. It kind of worked out. What was that kind of like to win that title?
It was, and again, like you said, anti-Zero G. I'm not somebody who does backflips. I'm not somebody who does much, if anything, off the top rope. So again, it's a good way of getting heat. What better way to get heat than giving the high flying title to potentially one of the least high flying wrestlers on the roster, so yeah, it was a great opportunity, and it was just a fantastic night, to be there to win the title, to, again, from having not been in ICW up until the club behind closed door tapings, to then within a couple of years being Zero G champion. Again, just to it's a symbol essentially of saying of Dallas and the guys being like, you're doing something right. We want to let you know you are doing something right. So it was a great honor, and probably one of the absolute highlights of my career, one of the best nights of my career.
And like, see the guys that obviously you're working with in that division, like kind of like Daz and kind of Levi and Luke Cairo and guys like that. How good are they to work with? Like, because obviously it's a different style. Like, do they mesh well with you? Do you think?
Oh yeah, and I think that's what's so good about the roster ICW has, and guys like that. Like, I mean, I've wrestled Levi a few times, and some of the most fun matches, because I mean, we're all guys who want to try and make my style of match work with their style of match, and just try and just make sure it's fun for both of us, make sure it's fun for the audience, make sure we tell the story we're trying to tell. And again, it's one where the roster at ICW is well, I'm going to say it's the best, if not the best, and definitely one of the best rosters in the UK. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Getting to work with guys like Levi, guys like Daz. Again, I hope Daz is all right, and hope he recovers from his injury. injury quickly. Getting to work with these guys, they help me be able to tell the story I want to tell by wrestling the style they do, and I'm sure I'm able to help them tell the story they want to tell by working the style I do. So yeah, I'm lucky to get to work with guys like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Like obviously, kind of hopes and expectations going forward. Like obviously, you're kind of building yourself up as that like a really good character worker and think like as it's in the division. Surely the ambitions like world championship and kind of like taking that next step. Like where do you see yourself? Like maybe like in a couple of years. Like is there a plan you've got to kind of where you want to be?
Not necessarily. The plan is obviously just first off. The plan is make sure I beat Jack Jester, keep the rules in place. So yeah, we can keep the insanity at minimum. But no, the plan is always just do the best I can. Tell the stories, make sure that for me, as long as the guys I'm working with are safe and okay. As long as they're okay, they're happy with the story we're able to tell, as long as I'm doing what the guys who are paying me to do the job, as long as they're happy with the job I'm doing, as long as the crowd are responding the way I want them to, then yeah, then that's it for me. I mean, yeah, sure. Obviously the main goal is one day ICW heavyweight champion, 100%. But it's all for me. It's all about telling stories along the way, making sure that audience are entertained, making sure that we take them on a ride, and yeah, that's the main goal for me.
Brilliant. Are you all right closing with a quick fire round?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Your favourite match you've had so far?
That I've had so far?
Yeah.
Probably versus Dickie Divers at the first Reckless Intent show post-COVID. So much fun.
Brilliant. Your favourite TV match you've ever seen?
Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, WrestleMania 18.
Brilliant choice. Dream opponent, either kind of dream WWE opponent.
Dream WWE opponent, Roman has to be the top of the pile.
Brilliant. Dream UK opponent.
See, because this always used to be Joe Coffey, but now I suppose he'd be a WWE one. So I'm gonna say Big Damo.
Big Damo. Brilliant. Prefer being a face or a heel? I know that's answer.
Heel.
If Tony Khan or Triple H gave you a contract, which one would you sign?
Triple H.
Triple H. Favorite film?
The Dark Knight.
Brilliant. Good choice. 3 people in the Scottish scene you would start a faction with?
I don't know. In the Scottish scene, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go Dickie Divers and Jack Morris. I know he's in Japan, but he's Scottish, so I'm going for that.
Brilliant. Final question: the dream arena you would love to work in?
MSG, Madison Square Garden.
Brilliant. Theo, it's been an absolute pleasure. Best of luck with the King of Insanity match, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. Brilliant. It's been fun.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.